Hello and good morning, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I am Akshay Dongre, and coming up in the next hour, Trump and Putin scheduled to meet in Alaska on August 15. Discussion on Ukraine conflict on agenda. A long 35 years of conflict ends. Azerbaijan and Armenia sign a US brokered historic peace deal. Trump hails the accord, says the two South Caucasus nations committed to stop fighting, open up diplomatic ties. The UNSC to meet today to discuss the situation in West Asia after Israel plans to take control of Gaza, which is drawing criticism too. European Union leaders urge reconsideration. Wildfire tearing through the mountains north of Los Angeles with thousands under evacuation orders. Greece, Spain, France also battling the deadly fire. Heavy rain brings national capital to a standstill. Over 100 flights delayed, roads waterlogged and traffic disrupted. Red alert issued for the day. Updates now from Russia-Ukraine conflict. US President Donald Trump will meet Russian President Vladimir Putin to negotiate an end of the conflict in Ukraine on August 15th in Alaska. At a press conference on Friday at the White House, Trump stated that there will be some exchange of territories for the mutual benefit of both the sides. The US and Russia were aimed to reach a deal to halt the conflict in Ukraine. Trump had threatened to impose new sanctions and tariffs against Moscow and countries that buy its exports unless Russia agreed to end the 3.5-year conflict. Earlier, Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff held 3 hours of talks with Putin in Moscow on August 6th that both sides described as constructive.
I'll be meeting very shortly with President Putin. It would have been sooner, but I guess there's security arrangements that unfortunately people have to make. Otherwise, I'd do it much quicker. He would too. He'd like to meet as soon as possible. I agree with it. But we'll be announcing that very shortly.
And we're being joined in by Shubhendu Ghosh of DD India. Shubhendu, there have been several ups and downs in the US-Russia ties ever since Donald Trump became the president. Do you think this upcoming meeting of the two leaders will bring an end to the conflict?
Good morning, Akshay. Well, the high-stakes meeting is scheduled to take place 15th of August in Alaska. The expectations are very high. Last time President Trump and President Putin met was in 2019. The circumstances were entirely different. Now, the stakes might be high, but there is no easy solution, we understand, to the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict that enters its fourth year. What are going to be the natures of negotiations? President Trump has dropped some hint when he talks about swapping of territories between Russia and Ukraine, although the word swapping is interesting because the realities of the battleground have transformed since last year, 2024, when Ukraine did make some gains in Kursk region of Russia. But as the things stand now, it is Russia which appears to have an upper hand over Ukraine in terms of territorial gains as well. And the swapping of territory, sources inform, could be about the earlier annexed southern peninsula of Crimea and the gains that Russia has made in the eastern Donbass region of Ukraine. But we also have to see this meeting from the perspective of the players who are absent, who are going to be absent from the table.
Right.
Most importantly, President Zelensky, the party to the conflict, is not going to be there. He's not on the table. And also the NATO, the European allies of Ukraine and Russia have also been once again, remember, sidelined by President Donald Trump. So in that sense, the negotiations that happen, will it be acceptable to the other side? How will Ukraine
Absolutely.
and the European allies respond to it? Would be interesting to watch out. What What kind of negotiations take place between President Putin and President Trump, only time will tell. However, we know that like President Trump's other approach, other policies, his own approach to Russia in the recent months that we've seen has been rather inconsistent. And we'll have to see what kind of posturing happens from the United States side when President Putin and President Trump meet face to face.
Well, of course, Shubhendu, this has been a very, very inconsistent stand of Russia as far as Ukraine is concerned. So, that's my second question as well. Now, Donald Trump is saying that Zelensky has to get ready to sign something, which obviously refers to the swapping of the territory, as you have rightly mentioned. So, how do you see this meeting play out with the Ukrainians as well as the European side?
Well, taking cue from what I earlier said, Akshay, the fact that Zelensky is absent from that negotiation table makes this whole exercise highly problematic, although greatly anticipated. Now, signing on a minerals deal by Ukrainian leader is very different from signing on a document which makes him almost surrender territories of Ukraine to Russia. That is something he has been arguing that Ukraine has been fighting for. It's the fourth year of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, remember, and the conflict has been dragging on. There are a lot of setbacks that Ukraine has faced. But time and again, Ukrainian president has made a point that compromising on territorial sovereignty is going to be a very, very difficult thing for Zelensky to accept, and maybe, in fact, unacceptable. And he would have to rely on his European allies now, because what happens to Ukraine now, after if the peace deal works out, will also pave the way for the security infrastructure of Europe, of the NATO allies as a whole. The cracks in the Western alliances that we've seen in the past between US and NATO allies in Europe, are those fissures going to become wider? All of that depends upon what is negotiated between Russia and the United States. But it is important that the ceasefire that the two leaders are aiming from, each party is approaching the conflict in a different manner. For President Trump, it is going to be about personal branding, peacemaker, ending US investment into the conflict. For President Putin, it is going to be its own security infrastructure vis-a-vis NATO. For Ukraine and Europe, much of it is going to be really existential in terms of their security concerns. What happens now remains to be seen, Akshay.
Well, thank you so much, Shubhendu, for giving us a well-rounded perspective. And also this may mean that, there can be certain implications for Zelensky as a domestic politician as well. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Kyiv and allies shared an understanding that it was now possible to achieve at least a ceasefire, depending on adequate conditions on Russia. Now, the situation is
Ми постійно в комунікації з американською стороною. І зі свого боку наші партнери говорять зі Сполученими Штатами Америки. Всіх об'єднує усвідомлення, що є можливість досягти як мінімум припинення вогню, і все залежить від правильного тиску на Росію. Саме там має бути ухвалене рішення, що цю війну, яку вони почали, вони ж мають і закінчити.
And from Ukraine and Russia, let's move on to the next conflict. Azerbaijan and Armenia signed a US-brokered peace agreement on Friday at the White House. The leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan shook hands as they joined President Donald Trump at the White House for a peace summit. The agreement includes US-exclusive development rights to a key South Caucasus transit corridor aimed at boosting energy and resource exports. President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, expressed confidence that Armenia and Azerbaijan will reconcile and build a peaceful future for the next generation.
I'm sure that Armenia and Azerbaijan will find courage and responsibility to reconcile, and also the people will reconcile. We will turn the page of standoff, confrontation, and bloodshed, and provide bright and safe future for our children. So I'm very happy.
And meanwhile, US President Donald Trump stated that two countries had committed to stop fighting, open up diplomatic relations, and respect each other's territorial integrity. Restrictions had also been lifted on defense cooperation between Azerbaijan and the United States.
It's a long time, 35 years. They fought, and now they're friends, and they're going to be friends for a long time. But it's a big, beautiful honor to welcome everyone to the White House for this very historic peace summit between Armenia and Azerbaijan. It's really a great thrill for me. I love seeing good people get together, and that's what you have. You have two great leaders. I want to congratulate these two visionary people, Prime Minister Pashinyan and President Aliyev.
The United Nations Security Council is set to convene an emergency session on Saturday to discuss Israel's decision to occupy the Gaza Strip, following requests from several member states. Earlier, Israel's Security Cabinet approved a plan proposed by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to establish military control over Gaza City, a move that has sparked sharp criticism from opposition leaders and heightened concerns over the fate of hostages. Following Israel's decision to occupy Gaza City, the meeting has been endorsed by all members of the Security Council except Panama, which is its current chair. And the US sources noted the UK, Denmark, France, Greece and Slovenia requested the emergency session. Israel's Security Cabinet approved a plan late Thursday to occupy Gaza City in the northern part of the enclave. Now let's move on to the next story. China's preparation for possible coercive action against Taiwan has intensified dramatically. It has ramped up military activity around the island, escalating tensions in the region. And amid this tension, China has warned Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., asking him not to play with fire after he signaled that Philippines would be forced to get involved if there is a potential conflict between China and Taiwan. Here's more in this report.
China has again upped military activities against Taiwan. On Friday, the island's defense ministry in a statement said that it detected 57 sorties of People's Liberation Army aircraft, 6 PLA Navy ships and 4 official ships operating around Taiwan. It alleged that 38 out of 57 sorties crossed the median line of the Taiwan Strait and entered Taiwan's northern, central, southwestern and eastern ADIZ, Air Defense Identification Zone. According to Defense Ministry statement, Taiwanese armed forces have monitored the situation and responded accordingly. Taiwan's Defense Ministry had also detected 15 Chinese military aircraft, 7 Chinese naval vessels and 1 official ship operating around its territory on Thursday. In a social media post, the Defense Ministry said 14 of the 15 Chinese aircraft crossed the median line of the Taiwan Strait and entered Taiwan's northern, southwestern and eastern air defense identification zones. Earlier on Wednesday also, Taiwan detected 16 Chinese military aircraft, 6 Chinese naval vessels and 1 official ship operating around the island. Meanwhile, Philippines leader Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in an interview in New Delhi expressed his government's concern for the safety and welfare of more than 100,000 Filipino nationals residing in Taiwan. He pointed out the country's geographic proximity to Taiwan, stating that any military conflict there would inevitably affect the Philippines and would force his country to mobilize all resources to evacuate Filipino nationals. Taking exception to it, China on Friday warned Philippines leader Ferdinand Marcos Jr. against it and said he's playing with fire. In a statement, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said that there is only one China in the world and Taiwan is an inalienable part of China. The Chinese Foreign Ministry stressed the Taiwan issue is China's internal affair and not open to interference by others. Bureau Report, DD India.
And it's time for a quick break, but still to come on DD India News Hour. Rescue and relief operations continue after flash floods in Uttarakhand's Dharali. Haiti has replaced its national police chief amid surging gang violence across the country. And US begins investigation in January 29 collision between an American Airlines regional jet and an army helicopter that killed 67 people.
geopolitics and trade deals, economic challenges amid development, hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium, we'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Akshay Dongre. Now it's time for weather updates from around the globe. First up from India. Delhi wakes up to a rainy morning. Heavy rainfall lashed several parts of Delhi NCR today, bringing the national capital to a standstill on Raksha Bandhan. The Indian Meteorological Department has also issued a red alert for the entire of Delhi today. Moderate to heavy rainfall and thunderstorms have been forecast throughout the day, with the possibility of intense spells over the east and central Delhi. Meanwhile, flight operations were also affected, with data from flight radar showing over 90 flights were delayed and 4 cancelled. The IGI airport issued an advisory on X, cautioning passengers against traffic congestions in the city. As per the IMD forecast, Delhi is experiencing inclement weather conditions. However, operations are currently normal. An advisory by the IGI airport from New Delhi. The IMD on Friday issued a fresh warning for Himachal Pradesh, predicting more rains in the coming days. The Chandigarh-Manali National Highway 21 has been closed again due to landslides in Mandi district just days after it was reopened after a 40-hour closure. This disruption has stranded commuters and caused significant inconvenience. Heavy rainfall is expected to intensify in Himachal Pradesh from Sunday to Monday, prompting a yellow alert for several districts. In Uttarakhand, relief and rescue operations are continuing on a war footing in the disaster-affected Dharali area of Uttarkashi district in Uttarakhand. Central and state government agencies are engaged in providing relief to the affected and searching for missing people, as well as restoring basic facilities for the people. So far, more than 600 people have been airlifted to Uttarkashi and Dehradun. Meanwhile, following a cloudburst in Uttarakhand, the Border Routes Organization is working to construct a Bailey Bridge at Limchi Ghat to restore connectivity on the Rishikesh-Gangotri road. The bridge is a crucial link on the National Highway 34. The BRO is racing against time to complete the bridges, which is currently under construction. And we are being joined in by Siddharth from New Delhi, Kanchan Negi from Dehradun, and Ankush from Mandi in Himachal Pradesh. First of all, my question would be to you, Siddharth. A red alert has been issued by the IMD. What is the condition like? What are the flight operations operating like? And the waterlogging situation in New Delhi?
Well, a very good and rainy morning to you, Akshay. I'm standing in the central part of Delhi, and yes, you're absolutely right. You told our viewers that a red alert has been issued by the Indian Meteorological Department. Although I'm in the central part, and today is Raksha Bandhan, so traffic is comparatively less on the roads. But one thing which is to be appreciated here is the road infrastructure that has developed. Especially with the new government has taken over, the infrastructure has significantly improved in Delhi. And we had a word in the morning today with some people who were absolutely impressed by the work the government has done. as far as the infrastructure is concerned, the roads like Minto Road, who used to be flooded with heavy rains, is now, the traffic there is going, we can say that the traffic is as smooth as a hot knife piercing through the butter, and people are really, really happy. Umbrellas are out because it's a festival today. It's Raksha Bandhan. The entire world is celebrating this festival. It's a sacred bond which is celebrated of brothers and sisters, where sisters tie Rakhi on brothers' hands. Everyone around the world is celebrating. As far as the flight operations are concerned, Akshay, then several flights have been delayed and several flights have been cancelled. There is an advisory that has been issued, by the airports authority. And apart from the fact that the infrastructure is developing in the country, people are absolutely enjoying the weather as well on one hand. But yes, as far as the waterlogging reports are concerned, Akshay, there have been some waterlogging in some parts of the Delhi and nearby areas, which has brought traffic to a standstill as well. But then now the situation is absolutely fine. Like I just mentioned you that I'm in the central part of Delhi and traffic around me is, flowing smooth, and people are absolutely going to their workplaces because some people also have their work today. It's not a holiday for everyone, but then yes, people are also celebrating the festival at the same time. The rains have not dampened. I would not say the rains have dampened the spirit of Raksha Bandhan. It has in fact lifted with a kind of infrastructure that we are seeing in Delhi, thanks to the government, which has taken over, and people are absolutely complimenting the government. They're heaping praise on the government. So this is currently the situation. And of course, Akshay, the maximum temperature is likely to be 33 degrees Celsius, somewhere around 33 degrees Celsius, and minimum temperature is expected to be 25 degrees Celsius.
Well, that's a relief,
as per the Met Department, the reports that we are getting in. So yeah, absolutely, umbrellas are out and there are smiles on the faces of people and they're absolutely complimenting the government. And yes, it's a festival, so people are also enjoying it.
Well, Akshay, that's a relief for a lot of people who would be expecting to move from one place to another. But my next question to you, Kanchan, what is the situation there in Uttarakhand right now if you talk about the rainfall and the other situations related to the weather?
Yeah, well, at the onset, very good morning. And I just want to apprise you that last night, the region experienced heavy rainfall. However, as of now, the rain showers have stopped, but the skies remain overcast and the weather continues to be cloudy. Authorities are closely monitoring the situation, and especially if you talk about the weather condition in Uttarkashi, the conditions may change rapidly given the prevailing atmospheric patterns. The residents are advised to stay alert as a thundershower is likely to occur at most places in all the districts of Uttarakhand. And the weather here in Uttarakhand is unpredictable. The weather is very momentary. Like at the moment right now, we can see it's not raining. But yes, if you can see around, the sky is still cloudy. So it can rain anytime. Yeah.
And it's unpredictable as well. And you have mentioned Uttarkashi. But before I ask you about the rescue and relief work, let me ask a question to Ankur. So, Ankur, what is the situation there as far as the highway is concerned and the place where you are standing right now? It seems we have lost the connection with Ankur. Ankur, can you hear me now? Well, we'll get back to Ankur, but before that, let's go back to Ankush. Let's go back to Kanchan. Kanchan, the situation as far as the rescue and relief work is concerned, we are getting to know that about 600 people have been airlifted from the impacted site to Uttarkashi and Dehradun. What is the situation like right now?
I would just like to say that more than 729 people, if you talk about August 7 and 8, this is the total number who have been rescued so far. I would say that today the nation celebrates Raksha Bandhan, a festival symbolizing the sacred bond of protection. The true spirit of this day is resonating in the disaster-hit region of Uttarkashi. Here amidst the rugged mountain and turbulent waters, our officers, our jawans, and the rescue teams are standing as the protectors of hundreds of lives, risking their own to shield the others. I would also like to apprise that in the early hours today morning, Senior IS and Health Secretary, Government of Uttarakhand, Dr. R. Rajesh Kumar, personally departed for Matli and Dharali to assess the ground situation. His presence is not just administrative. It is a message of solidarity to every survivor and rescuer that they're not alone in this battle of nature's fury. And under the direct guidance of CM Pushkar Singh Dhami and the committed leadership of our Health Minister, Dr. Dhan Singh Rawat, the entire health department has swung into relentless action. Emergency medical teams, ambulances, mobile health units, and trauma care specialists are deployed on site, ensuring that every injured person receives the best possible treatment without delay. The relief and rescue operations are continuing without interruption. As of 8 a.m. today, 52 people have been shifted to the ITBP camp at Matli in the disaster-affected areas of Harshil and Dharali. Along with the rescue teams, all necessary relief materials are also being ensured for availability. As I just mentioned before, that 729 people have been rescued from various areas of Uttarkashti district till Friday evening. And these people were stuck after connecting, roads and bridges were washed away in the floods or got blocked due to landslides caused by heavy rain.
Well, thank you so much, Kanchan. Let's go back to Ankush now. Ankush, can you hear me? If I can ask you a question about the situation there in Himachal Pradesh, both Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh are mountain states, and when it rains, especially in monsoon, the situation may get complicated. So what is the latest update on the Manali-Chandigarh highway and the impacted areas of Kullu, Manali and Mandi?
This year monsoon has been very bad, and the conditions are not good. Just 2 days back, the road was closed for 41 hours, and it opened yesterday, and again it was blocked after 1 p.m. Still, the road condition is not good. It's closed at 3 points. 3 points have become vulnerable. Time and again, the stones are shooting in, and the traffic is jammed. As of today, the traffic is closed from 1 p.m. yesterday, and even now it will take, we have just talked to the authorities, it will take minimum 2 to 3 hours to clear the road. And all the vehicles, 400 to 500 vehicles on both the sides are stranded up. Akshay.
Well, thank you so much, Ankush, for that well-rounded perspective on and updates on the situation. And thank you so much, everyone, Siddharth, Kanchan, and Ankush. Take care and take care and enjoy the rain. And as far as the updates are concerned, we'll get more updates from you as the day proceeds. Let's move on to the next story. Ferocious wildfires tearing across parts of Los Angeles, Greece, Spain, and France have forced thousands to flee, leaving a deadly trail of destruction in their wake. A wildfire killed at least one person and burned houses and farmlands in central Greece as firefighters struggled to contain a series of blazes at the start of what is forecast to be several days of gale-force winds. 11 planes, 12 helicopters and 170 firefighters were deployed around Kirati, 30 kilometers southwest of the capital. Worst wildfires since 1949 have scorched northwestern Spain, killing one woman who ignored evacuation orders. The blaze injured 18 people, including 16 firefighters, destroyed 36 homes, and forced evacuation of about 2,000 residents and tourists. In France, fire crews are also battling multiple wildfires as much of southern Europe grapples with the extreme heat and drought conditions. And scientists are now saying that this all situation that we are witnessing right now is being intensified by climate change. A US agency announced an investigation into the government's management of airspace around Reagan Washington National Airport after the January 29 collision between an American Airlines regional jet and an Army helicopter that killed 67 people. The US Transportation Department Office of Inspector General said that it is auditing the Federal Aviation Administration's management of airspace and its allowance of exemptions of the use of a key safety system known as ABD. An aircraft which transmits an aircraft's location by some military aircraft. The crash, which occurred just southeast of the airport over the Potomac River, was the deadliest US air disaster in more than 20 years. In May, the FAA barred the Army from helicopter flights around the Pentagon after a first May close call that forced 2 civilian planes to abort landings. The FAA this month said the helicopter flights remained on hold even after the agency disclosed it had signed a new agreement with the army on July 1st. From US, let's move to Haiti, which has replaced its national police chief, naming Vladimir Paraison, the former head of presidential palace security, to lead the force as the country grapples with surging gang violence. The appointment, announced via a decree from the Transitional Presidential Council and read on national television Friday, sees Paraison succeed Normil Rameu at a critical time for national security. Paraison's appointment signals a tougher security stance by the government, which has struggled to regain control in the face of widespread lawlessness, gang takeovers, and a worsening humanitarian crisis. Paraison's combat injuries and prior role protecting the presidential palace add symbolic weight to his leadership at a time when trust in security institutions remain fragile. And Japan marked the 80th anniversary of Nagasaki atomic bombing on Saturday, as the country's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba reaffirmed the commitment to a world without nuclear weapons. Representatives from 95 countries and territories, including nuclear superpower, the United States and Israel, which neither confirms nor denies having nuclear weaponry, attended the annual ceremony for the milestone year. Russia, which possesses the world's largest nuclear stockpiles, was also in attendance. Large parts of Nagasaki were leveled on August 9, 1945, when the United States dropped a 10,000-pound plutonium-239 bomb nicknamed Fat Man on the city, instantly killing approximately 27,000 of an estimated population of 200,000 people. And Nepali people preparing to celebrate the auspicious Janai Purnima on the full moon day. It is celebrated on the full moon day of the Nepali month of Shravan. Across Nepal, men of the Brahmin and Kshatriya ethnicities bought cotton strings called Janayu to be anointed and worn on the full moon day, marking purification and a spiritual renewal. In the Tarai region of Nepal, women and girls are buying Rakhi for their brothers as a bond of protection and love. Shops and markets in Kathmandu Valley too were selling designer Rakhis. And time for a quick break, but still coming up on DD India News Hour. One of the longest anti-terror operations in Kashmir in recent years continues in J&K's Akhnal. India marks 11 years of governance with an incredible success story. August 8th marks the 83rd anniversary of Quit India movement, a pivotal movement in India's struggle to end the British rule.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked, we just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Akshay Dongre. Trump and Putin scheduled to meet in Alaska on August 15th. Discussion on Ukraine conflict on agenda. A long 35 years of conflict ends. Azerbaijan and Armenia sign a US-brokered historic peace deal. Trump hails the accord, says the two South Caucasus nations committed to stop fighting, opens up diplomatic ties. The UNSC to meet today to discuss the situation in West Asia after Israel plans to take control of Gaza, which is drawing criticism too. European Union leaders also urge reconsideration. The wildfires tearing through mountains north of Los Angeles with thousands under evacuation orders. Greece, Spain and France also battling the deadly fire. While nations like India and Brazil facing steep American tariffs are deliberating ways to offset the challenge, a study shows Trump's tariffs will likely have an adverse impact on American consumers as well. The steep tariffs are also inducing significant volatility in global markets. Here's more.
Trump's global tariffs have started evoking sharp reactions. These are visuals of a traders' protest in India's Kanpur city, an important commercial hub contributing significantly to exports to the United States. This is after the US imposed an additional 25% tariff on Indian imports over a previously announced 25% tariff, a move that sharply escalated tensions between the two nations after trade talks reached a deadlock. Amidst volatility in global markets induced by Trump tariffs, leaders of India and Brazil held a phone call on Thursday. At 50% tariffs, India and Brazil face one of the highest taxes levied by Trump. The leaders discussed international economic scenario and the imposition of unilateral tariffs, importance of defending multilateralism, a strong people-centric partnership between Global South nations, deepening strategic partnership including trade, energy, tech, defense, health, and more. Successes of BRICS summit in Brazil and transition to the next presidency of the bloc, which will be led by India. Meanwhile, the SBI research report released on Friday noted that while major economies, including India, will feel effects of steep tariffs, the United States itself will not remain unaffected. For instance, high levies on Indian pharma products would directly impact the costs of medical care for many American citizens. Meanwhile, adverse reactions to US President Trump's trade policies are coming in from different parts of the world. The recent trade agreement eliminating import tariffs on US goods, including seafood, has cast uncertainty over the future of Indonesia's shrimp industry, the world's fourth largest exporter of the crustacean.
Yang paling berdampak sih
the biggest impact is on growth opportunities. We see now that growth opportunities are very suppressed.
Switzerland has decided to continue talks with the United States after President Donald Trump placed crippling import tariffs of 39% on Swiss goods, which threatened to inflict serious damage on its export-focused economy.
The situation now is that we want to continue these negotiations. We also want a regulated relationship with the United States. It is an important trading partner. But we also say today that this should not come at any price.
Japan has lowered its official forecast for real GDP growth in fiscal 2025 to 0.7% from the 1.2% projected in the beginning of the year, citing newly imposed US reciprocal tariffs as a key drag on the economy. Earlier, responding to steep American tariffs, Prime Minister Narendra Modi reiterated India's stance of never compromising the interests of its farmers, even if it means facing economic consequences. Meanwhile, Russia and India stressed their commitment to a strategic partnership and bilateral security talks in Moscow after US President Donald Trump announced higher tariffs on imports from India because of its purchases of Russian oil. Shubhendu Ghosh's report, DD India.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a telephonic conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday. President Putin briefed PM Modi on the latest developments concerning Ukraine while thanking President Putin for his detailed assessment. Prime Minister Modi reiterated India's consistent position for peaceful resolution of the conflict. The two leaders also reviewed progress in the bilateral agenda and reaffirmed their commitment to further deepen the special and privileged strategic partnership between India and Russia. Prime Minister Modi invited President Putin to India later this year for the 23rd India-Russia Annual Summit. From the grassroots level to global strides, India marks 11 years of governance with an incredible success story, celebrated not just here, but miles across in New Zealand. Our correspondent, Soumya Sharma, covers the momentous celebration in Wellington in New Zealand.
11 years, a billion dreams, and a nation on the move. We're here at the Indian High Commission in New Zealand, where the echoes of Vikasit Bharat can be heard across borders. As India marks 11 years of incredible governance under the vision of Viksit Bharat Ka Amrit Kal, the Indian High Commission in Wellington, in collaboration with various councils, reflected upon the highlights of these transformative years and India's innovations that have resonated with the Indian diaspora. Ma'am, which policy achievements of the last 11 years do you consider the most transformative?
So I must say it is, the policies focused on women's empowerment, because every house, the center of the household is the woman, and all these policies, so many of them focusing on women's empowerment, is really transforming the, unit of the house, and as such transforming the whole family and the well-being of the family. So, and there are so many policies, like just to name a few, the Digital India, the Skill India, all these are doing so much, so well for the people of India, and especially for the youth, I think.
If you had to summarize these 11 years of Viksit Bharat, if you had to use one word for it, what would you call it?
I would say it is transformational.
So what achievements and what policies in these 11 years do you think have been the most transformative?
I think out of this 11 years, I've been living outside India for a greater part of 11 years. The biggest shift I've seen living in New Zealand is we're getting a lot of traction as non-resident Indians, getting recognized on the Indian side and on the non-Indian side as well. Earlier, I think we found it challenging to get table at a seat. Now we are at a good position. We are being considered into discussions. Our inputs are valued, and people are making a conscious effort to get how to get in trade with India. Some ask about programs like Make in India or Viksit Bharat, and what does the Chandrayaan mean? So it's been a holistic growth that we as Indian nationals are experiencing.
Which initiative do you feel has made the deepest impact at the grassroots level in these 11 years?
I guess being a woman, the very first one that comes to mind is making the life of women in India easy, whether it was through providing free electricity, 300 units, whether it is providing safe travel, whether it is providing insurance, and whether it is providing Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. There are a number of initiatives related to women, but also I think the digital transformation that country has taken, it is more beneficial to women, in my view, than it is to men. Because women were so far behind in managing their own affairs, managing their own finances. Now they are part and parcel of the system. They are inclusive in digital literacy, and they are inclusive in financial literacy.
Well, this celebration held in Wellington is not just a tribute. It's also a testimony of India's progress in motion. This is Soumya Sharma from Wellington for DD India.
An encounter which began in Jammu and Kashmir last week is now being described as one of the longest anti-terror operations in Kashmir in recent years. Senior police and army officers are monitoring the situation round the clock. Intermittent and intense firefight continued throughout the night. Alert troops responded with calibrated fire and tightened the noose while maintaining contact. One terrorist has been neutralized by the security forces so far. Massive combing operation and search operations are continuing, and the officials are saying that the operation is now in its final phase. And we are being joined by Shabir Dar from Srinagar with us on this story. Shabir, it's a lot of days of this continuous operation going on now. What is the latest coming in from the security forces?
Yeah, obviously this is one of the longest encounters in the recent history of Kashmir. And we have seen the Akhal encounter has entered the 9th day today, and the security forces have confirmed the death of 2 soldiers in this encounter. Remember, the encounter started on the 1st of August when the security forces had the specific information about the presence of terrorists in the forest area of Akhal, which is some 80 kilometers from Srinagar, and the Akhal forest is a dense forest. It has a deep foliage and a tough terrain. So that's why this encounter is taking a lot of time for the security forces, because it is it is throwing some tough operational challenges for the security forces to conclude this operation. It has a deep dense foliage, tough terrain, and there are some ridges in the forest area, which is making the operation a bit challenging. That is why we have seen the security forces are employing all the modern gadgetry, be it the unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, helicopters, thermal imaging devices, and all these modern technology is being used in addition to the deployment of a huge personnel of army, CRPF, and J&K police forces. So every effort is being made to ensure that the terrorists who are hiding in the forest are neutralized at the earliest. Till now, we are given to understand that 3 terrorists have been killed, and one body of the terrorist has been recovered. The 2 bodies of the terrorists are lying in the forest area, as our sources say the drone images indicate. So obviously, the intermittent firing and intense firing are continuing from the terrorist side. The forces are, treading cautiously, ensuring that they don't, face, a lot of casualties on their side. So that is why the cautious and specific approach by the army and the forces is taking this operation along. Yes.
And the operation is also in the last phases. Thank you so much, Shabir, for all the details about this longest operation in several years in Jammu and Kashmir's Akhal. So let's move on to the next story. August 8th marks the 83rd anniversary of the Quit India movement, a pivotal movement in India's struggle to end British rule. But what sparked this powerful call for independence? Let's take a closer look.
This was the time when the country was heading towards its final struggle for freedom from the shackles of British rule. The date was the night of 8th of August 1942, and the place was Gowalia Tank Maidan in Mumbai. It was at this historic ground that a 2.5-day long session of the Indian National Congress was held, and following that, in the midnight hours of 8th to 9th of August, the Quit India movement was formally launched. Thousands of people gathered there with one dream in their eyes: freedom. A 73-year-old man, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, stood before the crowd and raised his hands to give a historic call: do or die. He gave a clear message to the British: quit India. A wave of energy surged through the crowd. This was the beginning of the final chapter of British rule in India. The Quit India movement was not just a slogan, it was a resolve, a declaration that India would no longer tolerate British rule. But this movement did not arise overnight. There were many reasons behind it. World War II was underway, and India had been forcibly dragged into it without the consent of its people. This arbitrary decision by the British was unacceptable to the Congress and the Indian people. As a result, on 14th of July 1942, a meeting of the Congress Working Committee was held in Wardha, where it was decided that the British must now leave India. Then, on 7th of August, the final session was held in Mumbai and the resolution was passed on 8th of August. The meeting started at 6 p.m. and went on till 10 p.m. Maulana Abul Kalam Azad gave the first speech, followed by Jawaharlal Nehru, who read out the resolution. Then Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel supported it, and finally Mahatma Gandhi spoke. Mahatma Gandhi gave a total of 3 speeches, 1 in English and 2 in Hindi. It was in the English speech that he gave the historic slogan, Quit India, which was translated into Hindi as Bharat Chodo. There is an interesting story behind the slogan as well. Mahatma Gandhi wanted a phrase that carried determination, warning, and a message of peace. Several suggestions were made, but in the end, Yusuf Meher Ali proposed Quit India, which Mahatma Gandhi immediately accepted. Yusuf Meher Ali was the same person who had earlier coined the slogan Simon Go Back. At the time, he was the mayor of Mumbai and was associated with socialist ideals. The intensity of the movement can be gauged from the fact that by the morning of 9th of August, top leaders including Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel and Azad were arrested. Mahatma Gandhi was kept under house arrest at the Aga Khan Palace in Pune, where he was accompanied by his wife Kasturba and personal secretary Mahadev Desai. Tragically, just a week into the movement, on 15th of August 1942, Mahadev Desai died of a heart attack. Mahatma Gandhi was devastated by this loss. Mahadev was more than a secretary, he was like his shadow. With the senior leaders in prison, the movement went underground. Many brave individuals emerged in this phase. Sane Guruji guided workers through secret meetings in the Khandesh and Satara regions. Women played a crucial role in this movement. Aruna Asaf Ali continued leading the underground resistance. She was never caught by the British, and a bounty of rupees 5,000 was placed on her head. In Assam, a 16-year-old girl, Kanaklata Barua, rallied the youth to hoist the national flag. Moments after her speech, the police opened fire and she was martyred on the spot. Yashwantrao Chavan, who later became the first Chief Minister of Maharashtra, participated in the Quit India movement. Just 2 months after his wedding, he was jailed. His wife, Venutai Chavan, was also arrested. She had said she would marry only a revolutionary. Together, they became symbols of courage and commitment. Another inspiring name was Usha Mehta, who operated an underground radio station. Through it, she shared news of the Second World War and updates about the movement. But due to a traitor, she was eventually arrested by the police. The Quit India movement echoed across the entire nation. Thousands were jailed. Hundreds were martyred. But India did not bow down. This was the decisive moment that shook the foundations of British rule. And just 5 years later, on 15th of August 1947, India became independent.
And on the 83rd anniversary of Quit India movement, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on X platform wrote, and I quote, "We remember with deep gratitude all those brave people who, under the inspiring leadership of Bapu, took part in the Quit India movement. Their courage lit a spark of patriotism and that united countless people in the quest for freedom." Unquote. Every year on 9th August, the world comes together to celebrate the International Day of the world's indigenous people. This day recognizes and honors the rights, cultures and contributions of indigenous communities across the globe. DD India correspondent Princey Yadav reports.
In the world of technology, AI and digitization, there still remains a group largely untouched by this transformation. And this is the indigenous community or the tribal community. In order to raise awareness of the needs of these communities, annually on 9th August, International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples is observed. This date was adopted in December 1994 by the UN General Assembly. This year's theme, Indigenous Peoples and AI, Defending Rights, Shaping Futures, sheds light on potential risks and opportunities of new technology for indigenous peoples. Indigenous peoples are inheritors and practitioners of unique cultures. As per UNESCO, there are 476 million indigenous peoples spread across 90 countries. They represent less than 6% of the world's population, but account for at least 15% of the poorest in this world. They represent 5,000 different cultures. Indigenous population occupies 28% of the global land area. India is home to one of the largest tribal populations in the world, with 705 scheduled tribes officially recognized across 30 states and union territories.
The vibrant tribal communities offers a living archive of songs, symbols and craftsmanship. resonating with centuries of old wisdom.
I am a traditional puppet artist from Rajasthan. This is the skill of my hands, passed down through generations. I travel to different places and set up my stall to showcase our traditional art. We also perform folk dances like Kachi Ghori and Bhabai. This is not just my work, this is my heritage.
India, for its part, is using advanced technology to preserve and empower its indigenous culture. Let's take a look at some key government schemes for tribal empowerment. Dharti Abha Janjatiya Gram Utkarsh Abhiyan. It aims at bridging key gaps in infrastructure, education, and livelihoods of tribal villages. Pradhan Mantri Janjati Adivasi Nyay Mahaabhiyan or PM Janman. It focuses on improving road connectivity, constructing Anganwadis and multipurpose centers, besides building school hostels. Eklavya Model Residential Schools or EMRS. They aim to provide quality education for children in remote areas. And pre-matric and post-matric scholarship schemes. They offer financial aid to scheduled tribe students pursuing higher education.
In the growing era of artificial intelligence, indigenous communities demand a seat at the table, not just as a subject of research, but as co-creators of sustainable and inclusive future. With cameraman Manmohan, Prince Yadav for DD India.
And there is a breaking news coming in about India's defense production, which has hit a record high. Sharing the information on social media platform X, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh wrote that under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India's defense production has hit a record high. The annual defense production has soared to an all-time high figure of rupees 1,50,590 crore in this financial year, 2024-2025. These numbers indicate a robust 18% growth over the previous fiscal output of rupees 1.27 lakh crore and a staggering 90% increase since the fiscal year 2019 and 20, when the figure was around 79,000 crore rupees. The Minister Rajnath Singh commended the collective efforts of the Department of Defence Productions and all the stakeholders, including DPSUs, public sector manufacturers and private industry, in achieving this landmark. This upward trajectory is a clear indication of India's strengthening defence industrial base. So clearly India's defence sales have soared to new highs, with the defence production hitting an all-time high figure of over 1,50,000 crore rupees. That is a huge movement for India's defence production capabilities, and from different missiles to fighter jets to the capabilities that India has developed over the past several years, especially in the last 10 years through the Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme of the Government of India. This landmark has been possible. Now India is a country that can develop its own aircraft carrier. It has made its own indigenous fighter jet Tejas. It is on the way to make other components as far as defense equipment is concerned, including drones, technology that includes artificial intelligence and other advanced manufacturing of advanced weaponry that can take the Indian defense manufacturing sector to new heights. But this news that is being shared by the defense minister is also a big news for the entire country, which takes a lot of pride in its own indigenous defense manufacturing industry. And that's all for in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is now available on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Akshay Dongre. From all of us here in New Delhi, a very, very happy Raksha Bandhan, and keep watching DD India News Hour.